Hello there, my name is Rob, and I design games. Welcome to episode 6 of my developer log for Magnificent Merchants, a board game about making people happy while pursuing fame, fortune, and fanciness. Today, I want to talk to you about symbols. I've completed the game mechanics for the game, for the most part, and I may touch on those in future videos. But today, we're looking at symbols and iconography. This requires a little bit of planning, some exploration, and I'm going to dive into designing some symbols. Going to focus on the money symbols today. Without further ado, let's dive right in. Okay, here we are in Affinity Designer, and these are the current icons for my game. You'll notice there's some issues with these icons, besides the fact that they just don't look that good. That's obviously a thing that we're going to be addressing, but there's more to it than that. Good iconography is crucial for intuitive gameplay, to allow people to learn the game, but also to quickly recognize them while they're playing. So the first issue with these is that they're rather inconsistent. You'll notice we have kind of different styles, like this looks quite different from this, looks quite different from these. They're also low contrast in some cases, like these are a little bit hard to identify. Some are high contrast, like this, but then others could be improved. It's also not clear what they mean when you look at them necessarily. Here are some goals. We need to standardize or make more consistent. And I'm thinking specifically, they should all have a similar level of contrast and depth. What do I mean by that is the sense of 3D that you get here. And this coin has some depth to it, but some icons are really flat, like this one, very flat. We also want an outline, because I want these to be easy to pick up on any background, because the icons appear throughout the game on cards, the board, all in different places. So a good outline. So 1, standardize. 2, make them recognizable. You should be able to look at these and right away know what it is. So representative forms instead of abstract ones. The coin is not too bad. The cactus isn't too bad if you know what to look for. But some of these icons like this, what does that mean? You wouldn't know unless I told you. So part of this is using shape language and using real objects. So we have 2 primary goals: standardize in various ways, and 2, make them recognizable. So some specific notes. I think the coins, besides the fact that they look rather boring, I think they should have a clear symbol that represent the region they're from, because in this world there's 3 regions and each has their own currency. See this connection here with these yellows here? So we want to have a region symbol across all of them. Like this cactus represents the desert region. That can appear on all of them, but I want to make it a little bit better. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this yet. It means any coin, but I might actually just change it to a picture with all 3 coins. So it could be any of these 3 currencies. The other thing is the coins could be different from each other. Differentiate. Shapes. This green one is stamina, and the shape is okay. It's kind of just used for actions in the game. It's okay for it to be a little bit abstract, but I think it might need to match the component that I choose. The physical component that's found in the board game, I'm thinking of using these green, like crystal type things. I like it when symbols match the physical components in a game, because then it's really intuitive. You can immediately know that those 2 things are connected. You have the representation on the artwork and the representation in the physical space. All of these just match the coins. So this is locations or cities, and then the dice, they could potentially have, it's very clear, the nice thing about this is very clear what it represents, but more than just having color, having symbol might be good. And then the heart represent buyers. There are people in the game that buy items from you. Let's look at these guys. These represent different types of items, and this one is any. This one, which represents relics, I think is fairly good. The Ankh is a fairly recognizable symbol in mythology, magic, and fantasy. So I think it's all right. This represents cuisine, and I think it's not very clear the type of cuisine I'm going for. It's actually more like fine dining, dishes, or delicacy. So I think a dish, this represents jewelry, but it doesn't look very pretty. So it should be prettier. It kind of looks like a belt right now, and it should actually look more like a ring. Make it more elegant. Now all 4 of these, should be unified into one shape. I'm thinking like a decorative box. The merchants in the game are selling items and they're high quality, expensive specialty goods. You need a fancy box to put those in. These are merchant items, which you collect for yourself. I think it's okay. Probably should look more like a cloak or a robe. It looks like more of a ninja tunic right now. Critter is cute enough. This represents any kind of accessory, and hats are actually a little bit confusing because sometimes people consider them clothes, and other times accessories. So I think I need a better object that represents the whole category. So maybe a bag or a walking stick. That might be hard to fit on a little symbol, but something of that nature that represents an accessory to your outfit, not an outfit itself like this is. All right, this represents goals in the game, and that's completely unclear. So I'm thinking this should be like a scroll or something like that, because it's sort of like a quest that the Merchant's Guild has given you. All right, I think all of them in general need to be more consistent and meet the goals we already talked about. I will mention this guy, which is a cube. So similar to the stamina, which is based on, I'm thinking should be based on a component. The reason this is a square is because I'm using cubes to represent influence. So that again could match, and the little star. All right, so now we have a little bit of a plan. The next thing I want to dive into is actually starting to play with some designs. So I'm going to jump in and design some money tokens. I'm going to start with that as a little bit of a template, play around with it, and maybe set a standard for what the rest of the icons will look like. Let's dive into that. All right, so I'm not very good at talking and doing it at the same time, so this is what I did earlier. You can see I'm starting to play around with 3 different shapes for the money in the game. There's 3 currencies in the game. You have yellow is the desert currency, pink is the mountain currency, blue is the island currency. And the people in those regions will only trade in their own currency, and they don't want to be bothered with foreign currencies. You can spend some of your influence that you gain as a merchant to exchange at a currency exchange rate, which is changing throughout the game. That's one of the interesting things about this game. You can see as I'm designing these, or just like playing around, I would say exploring, I came up with some shape ideas, but I don't end up sticking with them. Here with the desert one, I have the sun and the moon kind of there. And I tried to take my sketch and then put a vector drawing over top of it. And I'm not that good with vector like this. I tend to do a lot of thin lines. I'm still learning a lot of this. I'm still learning art, as we all are. And I would like to improve on the vector side of things, for stuff that looks more artistic. I'm fine with it for like fonts and logos and things like that that are designed to look more flat. Flat's the wrong word. Anyways, so you can see I kind of scrap that. I don't scrap it, but I just kind of leave it in the background. And I start working on something new at a bigger scale, making notes about what brushes and what line size I'm using. And I realized and remembered I want to do more of this 3D look. Like this is, when you see the symbol on a card or something, you'll see this coin with it has a 3D kind of feel to it. And I kept the sun concept for the desert coin. And I kind of like this sun as just like the region symbol. It's very intuitive that a desert would use a sun as a symbol. So here I'm just blocking in some color under my sketch. Not color, just light and dark for now. Again, I'm not too worried about color, but I do a little bit of color testing just to get a proof of how it looks. I'm adding in some shadows to give this coin some 3D texture, because I kind of imagined that the sun is like stamped on there and embossed. Some lights, some highlights. Working at a bigger scale is nice too. That's at a full 600 pixels. about 2 inches on printed material. Here I'm using what's called a gradient map, which just assigns colors of your choice to different values or lightness levels. So it's a nice way to proof something, or even it's a nice way to color something. You just put a whole bunch of values down. Also, you could see I was trying some highlighting on that coin. Didn't really like where it was going, so here I'm going over my sketch fresh with lines, with black lines, which I'm not that happy with the result, but I do kind of like the rough, sketchy look at it at the same time. Moving on to the blue coin, the island currency. So with the island, the concept I had in there was, first of all, it's a square coin as opposed to a round one. So I think differentiating the shape is nice. And right away you pick it up and you can feel that it's different. You know what coin you're grabbing. I kept the kind of wavy pattern. I had like clouds and waves. It's kind of going with the same concept with the sun that radiates outwards. In parallel, this is water waves, but they're radiating kind of outwards in radial symmetry. That's kind of the concept I was going here. And a little circle in the middle to, again, for some parallel. I struggled a little bit with the shape to make it 3D and make the perspective work, and you can see I'll come back to those later as well. All right, so for the mountain coin, I wanted to do a hexagon, and I think I probably struggled the most with this one to make it work in perspective. I'm not even sure I ended up landing it, but it looks all right. I'm trying to get it within this bound. I want them to all be like within the square kind of thing. There we are. And each coin also has like this ridge. So it has a ridge, has a circle in the middle. I decided with the mountains to go with a flower instead of the gem. The gemstone was nice, but I like the radial symmetry again with a flower. And it gives an elegance to the mountain region that works in the lore that I've imagined. Again, just light and dark. Put in some shadows here. And then I moved on back to the blue coin to block out the values as well. All right, finishing up the lines on these. And I decided just to stick with primarily the edge of the coin and the edge of the ridges. So the embossed area in the middle is a little bit softer without the hard black line. This also makes it so I could put a number or something over it. All right, coming back, I wanted to clean this up a little bit, and I realized perspective was still a bit off. I could see a bit too much of the side of the coin that you wouldn't be able to see if it was a real 3D object. Then I brought in the ridges on the coin, which I thought would be a nice touch. Also helps convince of the 3D. Again, fixing the perspective became more clear as I used the ridges, so I'm glad I did that. Some guides to help me space them out appropriately. Whatever tool I can use to help me get those less intuitive bits, getting the more 3D elements. Square coin is a little bit easier in that regard for whatever reason. Here I'm cleaning up a little bit. Adding more shadows. And now I was really tempted. I wanted to start doing some color testing again. See me bring in more color pretty soon here. I'm probably going to do the rest of the icons uh, all at once, kind of like I'm doing these three together, because I want there to be consistency across them. But you know what I'm really doing with these first three is establishing a pattern or a template or an idea to work from with all the other icons. I mentioned I was going to bring in color and I haven't yet. I'm just still touching up these highlights. Can't help but fiddle with it constantly. Here we go. Not sold on the colors, but I tried some hue shifting, which is where you move the darks and the lights to different parts of the hue spectrum. Kind of adds more color contrast, makes it a bit more interesting. Taking a step back sometimes and looking at your other pieces and making sure you're doing something consistent. It's difficult to match things. And again, fixing the perspective as I go. These ridges really helped. I think in the future I might use a lot more guides like this. If I'm trying to get that 3D perspective, just keep adding more guides, keep checking it. You may have noticed earlier I flipped the canvas a couple times. I should do that more, but because I haven't been in this phase of it. But you know, just helping to see, like, does this look odd from a different perspective? All right, now we're bringing that lovely pink tones, and I really like the hue shifting on this one. I think I tend to like warm colors more and more these days, which I never used to like them as. Getting a little deeper in with those shadows there. All right. Then I remembered the shadow on the ridge there that I was missing before. The next part here, I started to think about those ridge lines. Just very dark and artificial looking. So I started playing with some highlights, some strong white highlights. I got distracted by this idea and I started applying them to the shape in the middle. They all seemed a little bit strong, you know? So I realized this is a little too, they stand out too much, the ridges do. So I actually changed them to a lighter color, and the gradient map interpreted them as I designed it. So they kind of blend in more. Then I came back to the blue and yellow coins and did the same treatment. So add highlights to the main shapes. Wow. Move around in time lapse. I realized I sure do move the canvas a lot. And because I had not put these on a separate layer, I wanted to do that at this point. I moved all of the ridge lines to a separate layer. There we go. And it gave me the opportunity to redraw them a little bit nicer anyways. Again, we're fiddling away. All right, so I'm pretty happy with where these landed. I don't think they're final yet, but this gives me a really good base to work from. I like how the ridge lines I ended up with more faded in, so they don't stand out as much. And I actually did this treatment with all of the lines except the very outer edge. So every line in the thing is a varying darkness, and then I just have one black outline around the whole thing. Now it should work on light surfaces, so the outline will fade a little bit, but the shape itself is bright. I think it'll work out, but again, I don't think these are finalized yet. I love the concept of them, but there's some things I would clean up, like make the lines a bit smoother. I want to do a little bit finer work. Next video, hopefully I'll bang out all of the icons at the same time to at least get them to this draft stage. And then maybe I'll fine tune them from there. Thanks very much for watching this video, especially if you made it all the way to this point. I really appreciate you. If you would, leave a comment what you're most interested in game design, visual design. I'm kind of doing a little bit of everything. I'm self-publishing this game, most likely. I'm doing a lot of the art, maybe not all of it, but a lot of it. So yeah, let me know what you're interested in. I've done the game design, but I'm happy to talk more about that. Things change constantly with game design, which would be nice to show. And I can talk all about that because I keep logs of everything I do. So what are you most interested in? Do you like these coin designs? Which of the three is your favorite? And again, thanks very much for watching and have a wonderful day.